Happy 4th anniversary! We begin with a recap of the last two incredibly emotional episodes, harking back to Clara's death in Face the Raven, and showing us the glimpses of brilliance from Peter Capaldi's performance in Heaven Sent, leading us to the return of Gallifrey. This is gonna be fun. So the opening shot of the episode is the Doctor catching a ride in a red car, with his guitar from the beginning of the season, because I really did miss Dr. Disco. Then see the Doctor enter the diner next to the car. We see a waitress behind the counter with it being revealed to be Clara, meaning we can assume that this is a different incarnation of Clara since we know what happened in Series 7 with Clara scatting around the Doctor's timeline. Because if that wasn't the case, that would make Face the Raven's ending quite meaningless, so we have to trust Moffat that he didn't do something stupid in this episode. The Doctor and Dinah Clara start to interact. The Doctor asks how she got here, and she said by magic, but really she got here by playing asking the same question. He says by magic. What great writing. He then starts to play Clara's theme on the guitar for some reason, even though it's non-diegetic. What Moffat is trying to do here is just force more emotion out of us for no real reason, even though we've been dealing with the grief of her death since the last episode. Dinah Clara then asks if he's been travelling, and he says from time to time, because that's very much not on the nose. She then asks if the song is a sad song, and then he says, nothing's sad till it's over, then everything is. That's kind of my experience with this episode. She then asked about Clara, with the opening credits starting to roll. Okay, so what the fuck? Why the hell would Moffat start the episode like this, so randomly in the middle of nowhere, after the amazing cliffhanger of the last episode? In the clearly reused diner from Series 6, no less. It just seems so randomly that we're not starting on Gallifrey straight away, that we're going to Earth, in Nevada, in the USA. I just don't think that's a good intro at all. Also, we have the reintroduction of Clara, but this time we had to assume it's Dinah Clara because, you know, she died. But you know what? I will withhold my full judgment until the end of the episode because, you know, Heaven Sent was so good, they can't possibly ruin it here. I mean, hell, this is the first time on Gallifrey in ages, so surely it's going to be good, right? So the first shot we see after the opening credits is that the Doctor is walking away from Gallifrey. What? Wasn't the whole point of the cliffhanger in the last episode? It was the fact that he was going to go to Gallifrey? You know, to warn them that he's here to be intimidating. I mean, after all, this is the first time we've seen the Time Lord since Day of the Doctor, and the first time in New Who that we've actually been on Gallifrey physically. Would it make more sense that the Doctor actually goes to Gallifrey instead of doing this whole mopey walk thing he's doing right now? Like, look at this. This is not how you start a New Who story on Gallifrey for the first time. Especially after Moffat has been building this up since Day of the Doctor. Like I said, I'm going to withhold my judgment because the episode overall looks interesting. Can't wait to get more on that. So after that, we actually see the Doctor finally walking across the desert land of Gallifrey with a random sound effect of an eagle, even though there's no seemingly resemblance of any life around him. So it's just really meant to be dramatic. But hey, I've never written a Doctor Who episode, so what do I know? We then see a bar in the distance and the Doctor begins to walk towards it. Interesting. We then cut to Gallifrey with the cloister bells ringing all around the city, going to the top of the tower to see the Time Lords emerge. And one of those Time Lords is Lord Rassilon, who has been regenerated from Timothy Dalton from End of Time. We then also see the General from the Day of the Doctor special, who asks a local soldier what is going on down below. He then says that everything inside the cloisters has been active, which means that the Time Lords are in danger according to Rassilon. Rassilon then asks where the Doctor has gone, with the Sisterhood of Khan coming into the room, saying he's gone back to the beginning. Rassilon then says to them that they have no business being on the planet. They say they heard the Doctor had returned to Gallifrey, which explains why they are here, and Rassilon looks very, very annoyed. I cannot wait to see what they do with him. We cut back to the Doctor walking into the bar, which we see is the same from the 50th anniversary and the episode Listen. Then we see a woman enter the room talking about the bells within the city, and then she turns and recognises the Doctor, and we hear a rendition of the Doctor's theme from Series 1, harking back to better days. She says that they will kill him, and then he gives them tomato soup with random people just watching. Okay? Why are you lot just watching him eat? What point is this trying to make? What is the point of these people being here? Are you people seriously just gonna watch him eat tomato soup? Because it's clearly tomato soup. I know my tomato soup, and I love tomato soup. That is my tomato soup, and you're all just gonna watch him. Okay. Fine, I hope you have a purpose in this story. We see a shadow begin to cover the whole area, with it being a massive, super big ship with a huge gun. That is so intimidating. They ask the people to move away from the Doctor, which they don't, and then they ask him to at least move the children. So you're just going to shoot the adults then and let the children just watch? Is that what you're implying? That's clearly what you're implying. They still don't move, so they ask the Doctor to come with them to the city. He then drops his spoon with a massive and unnecessary sound effect, with everyone dramatically turning their heads towards him. Really? Is that meant to be like an intense moment, Moffat? Are you trying to emphasize every single goddamn moment that's happening within this episode? Because I mean, I get it. It's Gallifrey and the Time Lords properly, really, for the first time, apart from End of Time, but this is the first time the Doctor's on Gallifrey, physically for the first time in New Who. So I get that you want to make this as dramatic as possible, but really it's coming across as super, super cheesy, Moffat. The Doctor begins to walk towards the ship as it starts to back off. I guess the ship is just really intimidated by the Doctor. The guy on the ship then says the Doctor will come with him to the capital, but the Doctor then draws a line? What? Why do you think that's going to stop him? Why do you think that's going to stop him shooting the people if we're going to go by what he just said a minute ago? You know, the part he said where he's going to shoot the adults and not the kids, you know, because that's what he is clearly implying. Is that really going to stop them at all? A fucking line in the goddamn sand. He then begins to walk away with the pilot saying with all his might,
"You will come back immediately. That is an order, and this is a military vehicle."
Oh, great. I'm glad we're getting the high-class actors with this really, really hyped-up story. This is fantastic to watch. And then the people just then start to clap. What did he do to deserve a round of applause? He just drew a goddamn fucking line in the ground and isn't going to the capital. Why are you people so weird and so bland? What purpose do you serve? For fuck's sake. We cut back to Rassilon asking what his plan is. The Sisterhood of Khan says he's finishing his soup. That's fucking hilarious, Moffat. The Doctor is now laying in his bed from when he was a child, seemingly very, very bored, with the women clearly telling the Doctor that the Time Lords are here. He walks up with the General welcoming him home. The Doctor walks back inside straight away. God, this is just so exciting and so plot-driven. This is such an intense and well-acted first 10 minutes. Why are these, first 10 minutes so slow, and why is it dawdling along, is what I'm asking. Why is this first 10 minutes of really this hyped-up story that has been built up for not only the last 3 episodes, but for the goddamn whole new era of this show? Why is the first 10 minutes of us on Gallifrey so damn boring? So far, all we know is that the Doctor has found Clara in the diner. We also found out that Rassilon is here, and nothing else. This feels like that we're just watching the Doctor walk around and ignore everyone with no real purpose. Of the exciting end Heaven Sent, it seems so far being on Gallifrey is quite bland after all of this build-up. So the Doctor does the same to more Time Lords, and it's really not even funny. It's just slow and uninteresting. Let's hope we start actually learning about why the Time Lords put him inside the dial in the first place, and we get this fucking story going. Russell is then told that the Doctor just blames him for what happened in the Time War and not the Time Lords themselves. So then he decides to go and see the Doctor. The Doctor then walks up to face Rassilon. Rassilon offers his hand, with the Doctor dropping the dial onto the ground and demanding that he gets off his planet. Okay, we're getting somewhere now. Rassilon then says to him that they trapped him within the dial because he had information about the hybrid. Well, this hybrid does sound interesting, so I can't wait to find out more about that later. Rassilon then demands the soldiers to take aim at the Doctor. General then says that the Doctor was a war hero and some of these men served him. Rassilon, screaming like a child, says that they serve him. This is very, very intimidating. Already this version of Rassilon is so weaker compared to the End of Time version of Rassilon, who was so goddamn intimidating and scary, it makes Rassilon seem like a little bitch in this story. They then take aim with Rassilon telling them to fire, which they do. We suddenly just cut back to the diner, taking all of the tension out of the air. Well now, Moffat, after a brief recap with Dinah, Clara and the Doctor, which really doesn't serve any purpose at all, we cut back to Gallifrey. We see that they have all missed, with Rassilon pulling another hissy fit, asking them to explain. The soldier from earlier explains that there was a saying in the Time War that the first people noticed about the Doctor of War is that he is unarmed, but to many it was also their last. I guess that's a cool saying about the War Doctor. We then see him drop his gun, walks towards the Doctor, talking about the Time War, saying, hey, I was somewhere. On the top of my head, I can't remember what he said, but if they were somewhere, and that's meant to be, he says that he was somewhere with the Doctor, and I guess that's cool. We then cut back to Dinah Clara asking if this actually really happened. Yeah, I would find it hard to believe too. The Doctor then says that stories are where memories go when they are forgotten. Sure, and I'm totally sure that this is not hinting for what happens later in the story. Couldn't possibly guess what happens. All of the soldiers ignore Rassilon, and then he starts to power up his gauntlet with more ships arriving for it to be revealed that the Doctor has sent for them. They begin to kick Rassilon off Gallifrey. Fuck's sake, what a complete waste of one of the most intimidating Time Lords in the entirety of this show, after being amazingly written and acted in End of Time.
I will not die!
To then see him turn into a complete child and a complete wimp, with him being kicked off easily off Gallifrey. Within the first 15 minutes is a kick to the face and the biggest pile of the shit I have ever seen. What a complete waste of this amazing character. Or really inconsistent character now, because Rassilon is not the Rassilon from End of Time. Rassilon in Hellbent is a fucking wimp. You goddamn wimpy piece of shit. So now the Doctor is the president after sending Rassilon away to basically nowhere, as they say. They say that they are at the end of the time continuum for its own protection, meaning Rassilon is probably going to travel forever. I mean, that's just a great end for a character in general. The Doctor says he has barely started. To be honest, I don't think this story has even started. The Doctor then goes down to the cloisters and is met by the head of the Sisterhood of Khan. We learn more about what the confession dials are actually for and why Rassilon put him in there in the first place, due to his knowledge of the hybrid. I mean, I wonder if the hybrid will be talked about properly at some point, you know, not just being hinted about like it's the biggest thing in the show. We cut back to the tower with the General and the Doctor discussing the hybrid. They say that all they really know about the hybrid is that it's a crossbreed creature from two warrior races, which they assume to be a cross between the Daleks and the Time Lords. They say that this creature could stand one day in the ruins of Gallifrey, making it sound pretty threatening. They ask the Doctor for help, to which he says that he will need help too. He will need to go to the extraction chamber to talk to an old friend. Wow, this actually sounds pretty fucking interesting. Maybe we'll see an old companion or a character from the Doctor's past. Quite excited. I actually can't wait to see what they do. Wait. No, you fucking fuck! No, what the fuck are you doing, Moffat? Why the fuck are you doing this? So the Doctor has decided that he's going to bring back Clara from before she dies in Phase the Raven to help learn information about the hybrid. Why? Why have you brought back a character who died 2 fucking episodes ago? What was the point? What was the point in grieving in the last episode? What does it amount to? Fucking Moffat. Just fucking why? So they say that Clara right now is in a time loop, okay? And she can't feel her heartbeat and isn't actually breathing. So the General explains to Clara that she has been extracted from the end of her time stream and that they need information about the hybrid and that her death is a fixed point in time. Okay, and then the Doctor punches the General in his face and then steals his gun and arms himself with a gun. The one thing the Doctor would never do, threaten someone's life, especially a Time Lord post-Time War. He would never threaten someone who is trying to help him. That's the one thing the Doctor would never do. He would never threaten someone with a gun. He is the man who never would. And hey, you may not like that, but that's established, especially in New Who, that he would never threaten someone with a gun. Especially since this person is trying to fucking help him. And okay, you can make the argument that when he's alone, like we've seen before, he begins these dark thoughts and he becomes a lot more threatening. We see that in A Town Called Mercy. But for God's sake, he's been alone not for that long. Plus, Heaven Sent was his grieving. The whole episode of Heaven Sent was meant for him to grieve over Clara. So that doesn't even fucking work. Yes, I get he was there for 4.5 billion years, but the Doctor didn't live those full 4.5 billion years. He kept resetting as he died, so he only lived there for a certain amount of time. But I guess a certain someone forgot about that. Then the Doctor makes a joke about fucking selfies because we really needed some comedy in this moment, even though what is happening is fucking hilariously bad. He then says that he won't let Clara die. Really? You won't let Clara die? She's the one companion you simply won't live without. You know, the one companion you will break the laws of time to save, break every rule you have lived by because she's your friend. Not someone you're married to, not someone you loved, or someone who was a better fucking friend than her, or even a better character. No, Clara is the one fucking character you would do anything to save, even though that means threatening your own kind. which you haven't seen or talked to in over thousands of years since the Time War. Fucking great. I'm glad we have a well put together Doctor where his actions are earned and make sense, or even make any emotional fucking weight. A-star, Moffat, you did it again. Like, the General says that if you try to save her, the whole of time could be destroyed. But it's Clara, so he wanted to do it fucking anyway, so that's great. Yeah, it makes total sense that the Doctor would save just Clara. You know, not Rose, not River, not Adric. None of those characters fucking matter. It's just fucking Clara that matters. I'm super glad, you know, that Moffat is saying that this one companion is just the best and the Doctor will fucking do anything to save her. I'm so glad that everything is just being treated with utmost respect. And then the icing on the fucking cake, he shoots the fucking General. He actually shoots the General. Just no, this is not the Doctor. No, you fucked his character. This is not my Doctor. Hashtag not my Doctor. Why, after all we know about the Doctor, the many times he has cared about the regeneration, talked about how regeneration feels like dying, you still shoot and kill someone. How the fuck is this okay? How does this even fit with who the Doctor is? This is fucking awful. Apparently this Doctor doesn't care about killing. He then asks for a neuroblock to be set to human, and the Clara and the Doctor run away. Fucking great. Not only has Face the Raven's ending now been completely meaningless due to bringing back fucking Clara back from the dead, but we have a Doctor who is now killing people and breaking his own rules just for one fucking person. Even after grieving for her in Heaven Sent. That is all undone due to this one fucking horrible scene. What a waste of fucking time. The Doctor doesn't even care about regeneration, even though we have evidence that he does. The 10th Doctor talked about how regeneration feels like dying and how important it is, but that's thrown out the fucking window for this shithouse of a scene and line.
We're on Gallifrey. Death is Time Lord for Man Flu.
Man Flu. Fucking great. Well, now the General has regenerated, is now a woman, and then she kicks off her regeneration with this line.
Back to normal, am I? Dear Lord, how do you cope with all that ego?
Fucking Moffat. The Doctor and Clara has now gone to the cloisters and they try to find a way to escape. It would maybe be best for you to escape this goddamn fucking terrible episode, because I want to escape this episode right fucking now. We find out that the neuroblock is to wipe Clara's memories. Oh, fucking God. Are you really going to make the last 3 goddamn fucking series mean absolutely nothing? Is that what you're really trying to do? Are you seriously going to make the characters and stories around Clara really mean nothing? They mean nothing. Is that what you're trying to do, Moffat? Is that what you're fucking trying to do? Fucking grand. This is fucking falling apart, and we're only fucking about half an hour into the episode. You know, this hour-long episode. Fucking great. So now that you are looking for the secret exit out of the cloisters, we see Daleks, we see Weeping Angels, and we see Cybermen, for the sake of having them to spice things up. Glad we have more villains to be wasted. You know, Rassilon's already been ruined. Let's bring them all in. Let's bring Weeping Angels, Daleks, Cybermen, though we could argue some of those monsters have already been ruined by fucking Moffat's era. We get some conversations with the Doctor and Clara, trying to save this episode with some fun dialogue. You know, since this episode completely self-destructed itself about 5 minutes ago. She asks the Doctor how long it's been since he last saw her, and the Doctor doesn't give an answer and says it doesn't really matter. Yeah, at this point, Heaven Sent doesn't really matter anymore now anyway. It's completely fucked. The whole point of Heaven Sent, right, was just so the Doctor could grieve Clara's death. That's what it was. You can't argue that. Heaven Sent, the whole point of that fucking episode was to go into the Doctor's psyche and grieve Clara. Fucking hell, I can't believe Heaven Sent is now fucking pointless. Clara asks about the hybrid, and the Doctor says he has literally no idea. He doesn't even know what it is, and only wanted the Time Lords to think he knew. Fuck off. Now the hybrid doesn't even matter. It doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't matter. The thing you have been stupidly hinting at for a full fucking season doesn't matter. What the fuck is happening? So now the General and the Sisterhood of Khan now find the Doctor and Clara within the cloisters, and then Clara goes to approach them. Clara then asks how long the Doctor was in the confession dial, and they say for 4.5 billion years. She asks why did he do that to himself, and he says it was a duty of care. What about all the other fucking companions you've had? Did you not feel a duty of care for them? Did you not feel a duty of care for Rose, for River, for Amy and Rory, and fucking Adric? What about them? Why didn't you try to save them and break all your rules? Why didn't you, Doctor? When Adric died in Earthshock, Why didn't you go back in time into your own time stream and saved Adric? Yes, that would have been breaking the laws of time, but you're doing that with Clara, so why is she different from Adric? I get within the context of narrative, Adric was a bad character, but within the concept of the story, right? You still cared about Adric, but clearly you didn't, apparently, because you didn't try to fucking save him. What the fuck makes Clara so goddamn important? Why is she more important than them? For fuck's sake, they're just fucking awful. All they really say is that they should say things to each other, and then it pans onto the city while Clara's theme is playing. They then open up the hatch with Clara distracting the others, calling them monsters, saying that they are hated by no one more than her, which allows them to escape into a TARDIS. The Doctor and the Sisterhood of Khan talk about all the rules that the Doctor has broken, with him saying that the universe owes him this. Wow, how is this the Doctor in any way, shape or form? The way he's acting and the way he's justifying this is almost unforgivable. Just because you point out something that is badly done does not justify it at all. This is lazy writing, Moffat, lazy writing. And you should be ashamed. So now they escaped Gallifrey and they arrive at the end of the universe and keep checking Clara's pulse with no avail, with the Doctor now acting like a child, much like Rassilon was earlier. It's like poetry, they rhyme. So question, why the hell does the Doctor need the neuroblock? He did it with Donna before, so why can't he do it here? Well, there's a reason, and it's bad. But we'll get to that. We hear 4 knocks at the door, and no, it's not the Master, or it's not even Wilf, because even that would make the story better, wouldn't it? It's a shielder. Yay. Fuck off. They talk, but at this point I cannot be fucked to even bother with the details. This story has fallen off so far off the rails, there are hardly any pieces to mend it together. Anything that could have made the story good has been burnt up and turned to dust in the wake of this abomination and self-destructing mess of a story, let alone a Doctor Who story. With characters ruined and arcs made to be wasted, there is little effort you could even put into caring, as if the story itself couldn't care less with where it is going. She mentions the hybrid, which makes me think that we are about to find out what it is or what it even means. Who is the hybrid? They theorise that it is a shielder, but she doesn't agree, saying it could be the Doctor due to his time spent on Earth, with the Doctor asking does it matter, but she says that why couldn't it be 2 people? So the hybrid is the Doctor and Clara. Fucking ace. What a great conclusion. Glad we spent a whole fucking season being hinted at about what the hybrid is, just so it could be about Clara and the Doctor. Nice. So the reason the Doctor has the neuroblock, because it's more efficient and painless, which would be fine if that was going to happen. But no, Clara and the Doctor go back and forth about it, and God, I cannot be asked anymore. What is the point? You killed someone just so Clara could just forget so she could live. Ugh, just fuck this episode. Because Clara said she prefers the polarity of the neuroblock, it will erase the Doctor's memories, but he isn't fully convinced, so it could go either way, and they say they shall do it together. So you can assume why this plot device exists, because they need a reason for the Doctor to lose his memories for Clara. Ugh, either way, this run between these two has become pointless, and everything they did doesn't matter, because one will go and one will forget, and we know who is who, the Doctor. He starts to forget about Clara, trying to get the audience to feel sad and emotional, but it all falls apart because this story has been destroyed. The Doctor's morals, his code, he went not only too far, but to another goddamn world where logic does not exist. He passes out. He wakes up on the wasteland at the beginning of the episode, clearly forgetting who the hell Clara even was. We cut to the diner with the Doctor wrapping up his story to Dinah Clara. But we find out that Dinah Clara is actually just Clara. Nice. Honestly, I can't even pretend to care what is going on, because this episode has shafted itself too many times already. So as the Doctor plays on the guitar, we see Clara open the door to reveal the main TARDIS dock. With Clara flying away, the diner was a TARDIS. Cool. Then we see the Doctor's TARDIS, covered with Riggsy's artwork from the end of Face the Raven. Then we see Clara and me discussing just flying off to have some adventures, with both being alive to basically live forever. Fun. Glad Clara's death meant so much in Face the Raven. Glad that was all built up to and was paid off nicely and was totally not made pointless. Bye bye Clara, we won't miss you at all. The Doctor enters the TARDIS and begins to set off. We see a brand new screwdriver and the Doctor plots a course. Where to? Let's hope far away from this story as possible, never to see it again. And that, ladies and gentlemen, was Hellbent. So, where the fuck do I even start with this episode? When I first watched this episode way back, I only began to just dislike it, thinking it was just a poorly thought out story and was just very disappointing with its hybrid arc. and being a story on Gallifrey. But after going through it by every single detail, thinking about it more and more and more, thinking about the show's history, I now see how incredibly awfully written, awfully handled, awfully paced, and just being the biggest pile of shite I've ever witnessed. The Doctor is illogical, making decisions that would only make you question his sanity, saving Clara, killing a man in cold blood, and not even batting an eyelid that he's on Gallifrey for the first time in decades, also thousands of years in his timeline. I feel bad for Peter Capaldi because we know what an incredible actor he is, but the script he is handed makes him seem so stupid and misguided. His performance is convincing, but it's made worse by the fact that what he is doing makes no sense. After Heaven Sent, with the Doctor grieving and ready to face the Time Lords, he goes backwards and does everything he can to save one person. To me, it just makes no fucking sense that he would actually go and save Clara. No point during Series 9 do they actually build up this whole thing that he's getting obsessed with them travelling together. He's the one who's caring for Clara, asking why she's getting obsessed with travelling. The whole hybrid arc is just lazy. It's so superstitial. It's just an excuse for writing. Moffat can't be bothered to properly build up this relationship between the two, that they're both getting obsessed more and more and more with travelling with each other. The hybrid arc is just not clever, it's just lazy. There's nothing about it that's any different from any other arc. If anything, it's just hinted at again and again and again with no sense of nuance or substance to it. It's just a thing, and then it's like, oh, this is the end of the arc because, hey, Clara and the Doctor, they're obsessed. It's just not built up to properly, and it's not paid off properly. We'll get more into it when we get to Clara. But honestly, I cannot stress enough how disrespectful this is to not only the character but to the show as a whole. He was helped by the General, who kicked off Rassilon and asked for help. He brought back Clara, but in the end was shot by his ally, showing how little care the Doctor has for his own kind, the people who did nothing wrong. We thought regeneration was something important to the Time Lords, that each life matters and each incarnation matters. It is like dying and is treated as a part of you dying. But Moffat threw that out the fucking window because he wanted to subvert our expectations, make the Doctor feel irrational and clueless, changing the character for the worse. Pointing out what the Doctor is doing wrong is not good writing. It is a poor excuse for poor writing. And please don't tell me I didn't get the story, because I do understand what the story is trying to do. It's trying to tell a story about two people in a toxic relationship. Both are bad for each other. But the difference is that that can work if it's actually built up to properly. With Clara, it's actually built up pretty well, that she's obsessed with it time and time again, and actually dies because of it. With 12, it doesn't make any sense. Because with him, this relationship with Clara is like any other companion. They have witty conversations, they get on really well. At no point does Capaldi's Doctor feel like he's getting obsessed with travelling with Clara. It just makes you think, what would Capaldi do on Gallifrey if Clara didn't die and face the Raven? Because the only reason he actually goes to the extraction chamber or tricks them is because he wants to get Clara back. There's just so many things wrong with Capaldi's Doctor in this episode, and in his whole era, let's be honest. People say he's one of the best Doctors, which I think he had potential to be that, but the reason why he's not is because Series 8 and 9 completely ruined what could have been a great Doctor. What made Eccleston so great is that he improved scripts as he went on. Apparently there was a story in Dalek that he actually made improvements to the script to make his performance even better. That's what we want from a Doctor, to go far and beyond, to get better, make themselves better. And Capaldi, I wish, was that. But hey, we have Series 10, so at least that is good. Meanwhile, Clara is back and is as worse as ever. No story or even series should make the companion the most important companion to the Doctor in any way. The story falls apart. It makes any future companion we see automatically less important. Why should we care about this character we know the Doctor won't care as much as Clara? Moffat is effectively choosing who is the best companion in the show's history. No showrunner should do that. You don't write this show like that. It doesn't help how inconsistent Clara is as a companion, being the most bland character you see in Series 7 to annoying over-the-top school teacher in a horrible romance arc in Series 8 to becoming an addicted Doctor taking the main spot in Series 9. She is objectively the worst companion in New Who without a doubt. No one is as inconsistent, as poorly written, and is involved in more worse stories as much as her. Jenna Coleman is a great actress, but by God, she is the absolute worst companion in the show's history. I'm not even sorry to any Clara fans because I do not see what you see. She's not a good character, and you can't convince me otherwise. There's a reason why Capaldi's scenes are some of the least watched out of all of New Who, and it's a real shame because Series 10 is by far his best. Series 8 was a good end to a story and felt like a natural conclusion, but Series 9 feels like such an afterthought with her around. She is the series arc, much like Series 7, and both are horrible in quality. she should have left after series 8. And the fact that Moffat couldn't find a better replacement for her is mind-blowing to me.
And why you don't
If you didn't like
the story.
Clara, you don't understand stories, and you don't, maybe I'm a bit rude, but you just don't understand what makes a good story.
David, if you're going to have the balls to say that we don't understand what good stories are just because we don't like Clara, then you need to say it with more confidence, because in this clip here that I just showed, you're clearly not confident enough, or you don't want to seem too bit rude that you with what you're saying, that we don't understand what good stories are. Not all stories can be filled with surfboards and catching darts. We actually want good, proper stories. I love the argument when you just say that we don't understand what a story is, because that really is how it works. We could say multiple things why the story is inconsistent, that characters' arcs don't make sense, or nothing is paid off properly, but hey, maybe it's beautiful writing and we just don't understand. Yeah, just because I don't like Clara, that means I don't understand what actual good writing is. I mean, it's not like I like Face the Raven or anything. Clara as a character is the most inconsistent in the entirety of this show. In Series 7, she has no personality and as bland as any companion was up to that point. In Series 8, she has way more personality, but it is not executed well, and then in Series 9 is suddenly just so addicted to the fact she's travelling with the Doctor. And yes, in Series 9 it's not executed perfectly well during the whole series, but in Face the Raven, it is this culminating this idea that if Clara tries to become like the Doctor way too much, she is going to pay for it, and then she does in a beautifully tragic way. Her death in Face the Raven is done so well. It's perfectly built up to within that episode, and her death, while she's not a fantastic companion in an overall sense in the narrative, her ending is so damn good. Hellbent fucking ruins it. I'm sorry to burst the bubble of all Clara fans out there, but I'm sorry, but Face the Raven's ending doesn't matter because of what happens in Hellbent.
Hang on, wait, what?
There is no repercussions for what happens to her. Her whole arc of being too much like the Doctor and her being punished for it, which is beautifully done, is undermined because now, in the end of Hellbent, she can now live for as long as she can. She can effectively do whatever the hell she wants and then choose to die and go back to Face the Raven. But there's no repercussions because she can live forever. It doesn't make any sense from a narrative perspective of character arc and growth.
She's goddamn rewarded for doing something bad.
Clara does not learn anything because now she's like,
oh, okay, I can just live forever now.
It makes no goddamn sense. It is not what Face the Raven is building up to. And even Heaven Sent, which was about the Doctor grieving over Clara and him moving on from Clara. That's what the whole point of that episode was. It wasn't just to be stylish or to put on a great performance by Peter Capaldi. It was actually something important to the narrative, the overarching story. It doesn't work. It makes Clara's whole arc as a character building up to that moment in Face the Raven, where she even says, referencing Danny Pink, what he does in Series 8, sacrificing herself in a sense, her arc is complete, but then Hellbent ruins it. And you know what pisses me off even more? For the first couple minutes when she comes back to life in Hellbent, she's basically saying to the Doctor that what he's doing is wrong, but then after their tour within the cloisters, within the Matrix, she's completely fine with it. She's like, okay, I guess I'll live now. I'm completely fine with it now. So it doesn't even make sense from there. You can't even say that's an excuse because she goes along with it at the end. Clara is the embodiment of the perfect companion in Moffat's eyes, and it's displayed fully in the actual narrative of the episode. Not just in this episode, but her entire goddamn run. Clara is just the worst companion in New Who, and that is not just an opinion, it is a fact. You can have your opinion about Clara, and you can like Clara, but your opinion about that she is a good companion and good for the Doctor Who universe is wrong. Opinions can be wrong. I'm not telling you you can't like Clara, but to say she did not do harm to Doctor Who as a whole is just blindsidedly stupid. Goodbye forever, Clara, you dingle fuck. Gallifrey is the most upsetting and most disappointing aspect of Hellbent. I mean, for God's sake, this is the first ever fully fledged Gallifrey story, and this has been building up to since the end of the fucking world.
My planet's gone. It's dead. It burned like the Earth. It's just rocks and dust. Before its time. I'm a Time Lord. I'm the last of the Time Lords. They're all gone.
Man, I miss when Doctor Who was really fucking good. Gallifrey is pushed out of the picture, stomped to death after this episode. The story that should have happened with the Doctor against the Time Lords is non-existent. People's main rebuttal against people who hate this episode, talking about how Gallifrey is wasted, saying that it isn't the story that we expected.
And then it's not at all. It's the Doctor and Clara. It's their story. The whole of Series 9 is about the Doctor and Clara.
Why do you want a story about a planet?
We didn't want a story about the physical fucking planet. We wanted a story with the Doctor on Gallifrey against the Time Lord. We don't want a story physically about the planet itself. There have been many stories about stories on Gallifrey about the Time Lords and the Doctor, and this is no different. This is just fucking shit. This has been set up since Day of the fucking Doctor because Moffat set up that narrative.
I have a new destination. My journey is the same as yours, the same as anyone's. It's taken me so many years, so many lifetimes, but at last I know where I'm going. Home. The long way round.
When you set up in an episode that the goal for the Doctor in that point in time is to get to Gallifrey, and you show instances that he gets annoyed when he doesn't get there, then when we're on Gallifrey officially, when the Doctor is on Gallifrey and he doesn't do what we expect him to do that you've been building up to, then that doesn't make any logical sense because the narrative that you've been setting up is not consistent. It doesn't make any sense. Instead, we get a mopey Doctor, a whiny Rassilon, and a pushover General who legit does nothing after her regeneration, making it all pointless. The Sister of Khan do nothing either and are meaningless. Like, what was the point of bringing them back at all? Me is fucking redundant as hell and I'm sick of her. Don't ever bring her back. Never. You can never go back to Gallifrey in any way, shape or form. You can't go back and do the correct story that should have happened. Clara means more than Gallifrey. Let that sink in. Fuck off. I don't understand anyone who thinks this is even close to being a positive episode. It wastes so much with something we already got in Face the Raven. The only decent things in this episode are the direction and the music, and even then, some song choices are questionable at best. We can only hope we don't get anything close to this again. This episode killed so many people's passions for the show and love for the show, basically questioning why they even bother with this amazing show. But when you make an episode as objectively destructive as this, it doesn't surprise me.
That was good. And I'm not like, oh, I wanted her to die. I'm like, that is a good, beautiful exit. But to have him go to the lengths that he goes to bring her back is Moffat beating the audience over the head with the idea that she is the most important person in his life ever. Look at the lengths he's willing to go to. Look at the rules he's willing to break. Look at the lines he's willing to cross that he never crossed for any other companion in the history of this show. It's her. Because she's the best. Well, that's what I say to you, Moffat. You don't get to tell me who the best companion is, because that's what's great about this show. We get to decide who the best Doctor is for us. We get to decide who the best companion is for us. You don't get to dictate for us that Clara is best just because you fell in love with your own creation and wouldn't let her die after you gave her a great, beautiful death. No, you had to undermine everything and then completely throw under the bus the entire narrative that you built up about the idea of the Doctor getting back to Gallifrey. That gets literally tossed aside again, sacrificed on the altar of look how great Clara is and what he goes through to bring her back. And it wasn't even a case of like that was set up by Davies and he didn't want to deal with it. That was Moffat's plot line. He set that up himself and then he threw it away for this. Oh, fuck you, Moffat.
Moffat! You know, I think I'm gonna fucking regenerate with how fucking terrible that was. Well, that was hellbent. And it's made me fucking hell-bent on killing Stephen Moffat. Even Willow's fucking justified! It's all Willow!
Nothing is right. Nothing is right in that episode. It's all wrong-headed and nasty. Hell-bent made me hate Doctor Who. I thought, what the fuck's the point of me watching? If this is what I'm going to get, why do I invest my time in this show if everything is slapped back at me, right in my face, like a slap in the face? Every element, every story beat, every character beat, everything. The only two positives are Murray Gold's music and Rachel Talalay's direction. That is it. Everything else is shit. If someone loves Hellbent, Please explain to us why. We're interested to know. Because every explanation we've been given, it comes from a perspective of like, oh, you didn't understand this or you didn't understand that. When we did understand it, we very much got it. We just did not like it. But we're really interested to hear, as opposed to telling us what we got wrong, tell us what you got right about the episode. If that makes sense.
Anything to make the pain and suffering stop.
I generally hope this never happens again. Like, never. When this aired, I was done with the show at the time. I'd given up by Series 7, so when I watched this for the first time, I was so confused and mixed. It wasn't something I liked at all, but now going through it bit by bit, I see the massive flaws, the inconsistent characters, and the destructive writing. Moffat is a great writer, but he's a bad showrunner. He dealt with too many things, and Doctor Who suffered for it. I know Moffat loves the show, but he failed in his duty of care for Doctor Who. People didn't take it seriously anymore, and people were clocking out. But who can blame them? If you think this is good, I don't get it. You can like this, but you have to know its flaws. Objective media is real. The room is a hotness of trash quality and everyone knows it, but people love it because it is bad. We know it's bad, so you can't tell me that everything is subjective when those things exist. Hellbent has so many problems and it ruins Doctor Who objectively. So if you like this, that's fine, but it's still not good. It is bad. It is horrible. It is hell. Well guys, I hope you enjoyed this adaptation of Mauler's Unbridled Rages with the twist of Doctor Who. I had this idea for a while now and wanted to see if this style could be used to critique Doctor Who. This was a fun experiment, and I do hope that I've made Mauler proud. I've really come to really like his content, and I hope if he ever sees this, he also enjoys it. No idea if he watches Doctor Who, but I hope this video was good enough in any case. But this could be trash, so I don't know. I really hope you guys have a really good Christmas. This project took me a long time to make, and I was really glad to get this on the release day that I aimed for. Obviously, this is the 4-year anniversary of Hellbent, and my god, it feels so long ago. Thank you everyone who's been waiting patiently for this, because I know that a lot of my content has suffered in the wake of this, but I thought it was worth it. I really hope this shows the passion I have for this show. I love this show, but there are stuff in this show that I also hate, and Hellbent is one of them. If you do like Hellbent, that's fine, but this video was to show you that it has fundamental, factual problems. That's not me being opinionated, that's a fact. It has problems, it contradicts itself, and it ruins the lore of the entire show. It is bad. If you guys do want me to do more of this kind of stuff, I'd be more than happy to. I would actually like to do unbridled praise of a Doctor Who episode, just to sort of balance it out. If you have any suggestions, please let me know and I'll take it into consideration. This project took me a long time to make, and I'm very proud of it, but these take time. So the next one, if I ever do it, will take time. But I do hope you guys enjoyed this video. Have a good Christmas, and I'll see you later. This took me ages to make, and by God, I've learned to hate Hellbent so much more than I did when I started it. It's so bad. Just, please, Chibnall, please don't make an episode like this, please. Please, just don't. God.
No moving about. On pain of death, no one take a selfie.